What if the current war with Iran isn't just another Middle East conflict, but the very event that pushes the world into the 7-year tribulation described in the Bible? Right now, the situation is escalating rapidly. Oil routes are threatened, nations are getting involved, and the global economy is already feeling the shock. And if history and prophecy follow a certain pattern, this could be the beginning of something far bigger. Part 1. The war expands. The current conflict is already spreading beyond a single battlefield. Iran has launched attacks across multiple countries. Regional powers like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE are being pulled in. Global powers like the United States and European nations are getting involved. In fact, analysts say Iran has already drawn over a dozen countries into the conflict, either directly or through proxy forces. And with strikes hitting infrastructure across the region, this is no longer a contained war. It's becoming a regional, possibly global confrontation. Here is a plausible escalation scenario. 10 to 20 nations are directly involved militarily. NATO-aligned countries securing shipping lanes. Russia and China backing Iran indirectly. Proxy groups opening multiple fronts. Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq. This aligns eerily with biblical descriptions of many nations gathering in the Middle East. Part 2. Global collapse and the need for a peace deal. As the war expands, one critical choke point becomes central. The Strait of Hormuz, where about 20% of global oil flows. Disruptions here are already driving up oil prices, slowing global growth, and increasing inflation worldwide. Now imagine this escalating further. Plausible chain reaction. Oil supply collapses. Energy prices skyrocket. Supply chains break down. Stock markets crash. Governments print massive amounts of money. Result: runaway inflation followed by hyperinflation, just as described in Revelation chapter 6. Maybe not overnight, but step by step. Part 3. From inflation to hyperinflation and chaos. As war disrupts global trade routes and energy supply, food prices surge, currency values drop, debt-heavy nations begin to fail. This leads to bank instability, currency devaluation, and emergency financial controls. Eventually, governments may introduce centralized digital currencies, restrict withdrawals, and control buying and selling this way. This mirrors the economic control system described in Revelation. Part 4. The 7-year peace treaty. Now comes the turning point. After months or years of war, chaos, and economic collapse, the world demands peace at any cost. A powerful global leader emerges. This leader, the Antichrist, brokers peace between Israel and surrounding nations, guarantees security in the Middle East, and restores global trade stability. And then, a 7-year peace agreement is signed. This aligns with Daniel 9 verse 27, where a covenant is confirmed for 7 years. Why would Israel agree? Because it's surrounded by enemies. It's war-weary. There is economic collapse and pressure from global powers. Why would other nations agree? Because oil must flow again. Economies are collapsing, and there is fear of wider global war. This treaty appears to solve everything. Part 5. The false peace. At first, the world celebrates. Markets recover. Trade resumes and war stops. But the Bible warns. When they say, peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes. Halfway through the 7 years, the agreement is broken by the Antichrist himself, and the world enters the Great Tribulation. Part 6. Why this scenario is plausible. Let's be clear, this is not a prediction, but it is a plausible alignment of current events and biblical prophecy, including a rapidly expanding Middle East war, multiple nations being drawn in, global economic instability already beginning, energy crisis affecting the entire world, increasing calls for international intervention. Even now, oil disruptions are shaking global markets. Military escalation is ongoing. Diplomacy is struggling. All the ingredients are there. So the question isn't just, will this war end? The deeper question is, what comes after it ends? A temporary peace, and then the beginning of the most significant prophetic period in human history. We are in possibly the most turbulent times in world history. But if you are a believer in Jesus Christ, not to worry. He will return to snatch us up to heaven just before the tribulation begins.